Hi, this is Tony Robbins. Welcome to the Ultimate Edge. Yes, the opportunity to transform your life emotionally, physically, financially, in your relationships. You name it. Sounds like a big promise, doesn't it? But really what this program is about is taking control, creating life on your terms, putting yourself in a position where the outside world is not the driving force in who you become or what you enjoy or what you create in your life. So I want to start out by first thanking you for the privilege of being able to serve you. I've been doing this for more than 3 decades, and I have to tell you, I think this is the most excited I've been. One reason is because this program is the best of everything I've learned in those 3 decades. I've managed to put together the things that I discovered and created in my early 20s that shaped, the beginning of my career when I was helping people turn things around and taking athletes to a whole new level for the very first time. Then it also includes kind of the second stage of my life as I began to mature and develop a family and have 4 children and start building businesses and start facing real challenges, looking around at life and figuring out, my God, how do you turn this thing around? Here I've got this great success supposedly, but at the same time I have these big problems I got to deal with. When the president of the United States is asking you for coaching, a top athlete in the world who's burning down on national television and they need you to help me make the change now, or a child that's suicidal. For the last 30 years, I've had the privilege of being in these situations, the opportunity to face my own challenges and the opportunity to serve other people in extraordinary ways. And I think it gives me a unique opportunity today to deliver to you this ultimate edge. And the ultimate edge doesn't mean you're not going to have problems or everything's going to be perfect, but it really is the insights, the tools, the strategies, the triggers that I've been obsessed on looking for that change the quality of life literally in a moment, without exaggeration. We all know there are times in your life where you've been frustrated, overwhelmed, or you've been trying to change something. Maybe you've been stuck, but there's something inside of you finally snaps. It may have taken you 10 years to get to that moment, but there's a moment where it all changes. I've spent these last 3 decades looking for what is happening in that moment so you can make that moment happen now. And I'm also hopefully intelligent enough to know that I don't have all the answers, but I promise you, I can help you get in the place where you can find yours. That's what's going to happen over the course of these couple of weeks we'll spend together. I also want you to know right now up front that I don't take lightly the time you're taking to do this or who you are as a person. I don't know what brought you here. I don't know if it was accelerating your achievement or dealing with a big problem, a big challenge that you're facing right now. I don't know if you've entered a new stage of life where maybe you've been so successful, but now you're really not fulfilled. It's like been there, done that. Or if you're facing a real challenge, something's changed in the economy or in your government or your company or where people you work with, or maybe, your kids have grown up. I don't know what it is, but we all enter stages of life where the chapter changes. And those are the times when we usually reach out and say, I need to find every resource I can to take myself to the next level or to turn this situation around. What are you looking for? Is it transformation of a relationship or the creation of one? Some love and some real passion, not just hanging out? Are you looking for freedom? Are you looking for the ability to just take control of your time? Are you looking for some fulfillment or maybe an experience of more meaning? Is it fun you really want to have finally? I can promise you over the next few days, although they may not think it's going to show up in a place like this, people think this is an educational program or motivational program. I hope you'll be inspired by what we work on, but I can promise you're going to have some fun because there's enormous power and enjoyment in discovering what makes you tick. What's driving you? What's been holding you back and what can move you forward right now? So I don't take lightly, again, your participation in this. And I can promise you this, I will not betray your trust. I don't say that lightly, I mean it. And what I mean by that is I know you can get your money back from a program like this or anything you've done or invested in. But the one thing you can never get back is your time. And so my goal is to make sure that each day, if you'll give yourself the gift of finding some segment of your day and just saying, I'm going to take time to really think about what matters in my life. And I'm going to use this crazy guy over here, this coach, this Tony Robbins guy, as a trigger for me to find out what really matters at this stage, to find out what tools will get me to the next level, to kind of just each day give me a little push over the edge, a little focus on what matters, a skill that makes a difference, get me to take a little bit of action so I can build on it and make things work. If you'll find that, what I call net time, that no extra time, like when you're driving in your car or you're working out or you're going for a walk or cleaning the house or whatever it is you do, if you'll give yourself this gift, I promise you, These next few days we spend together will be days you will not forget, and you'll look back on and say, those are the days I took myself to the next level. Those are the days when I took control. Those are the days when I faced the challenge and I finally decided to conquer it. Maybe it all didn't get solved in one day, but those are the days I created the momentum that changed everything in my life. Now, again, as I'm speaking this to you, I'm thinking, what are you thinking? And are you thinking this guy's over the top? Are you thinking this guy's just making a bunch of promises? Are you thinking, yeah, good talk, but where's the walk? If you want to know who I really am, you don't have to watch how my lips move. Anybody can do that. Watch how a person's feet move for 30 years. What people say is one thing. What they do and how they live their life is everything else. And I can tell you, do any homework on me, you'll find this is how I live my life. I'm one crazy, loving, passionate nut that's out there to help people change their lives. And I don't just do it with my clients. I've done it for 30 years with people that I feel society has forgotten. And I'm really proud of the fact that years ago, when I was 11 years old, we had no money, no food at Thanksgiving. And somebody supported us. They brought us food. So when I was 17, I started the same process, and I've been doing it ever since. And so today, I've been able to help enough people that I don't just help them succeed, but I really want to help them to be fulfilled. And part of that comes from having some part of your life contributing beyond yourself, not just money, but your time, your energy, your love, your heart. So I'm really proud to tell you that our foundation now feeds more than 2 million people in 36 countries. So, I can work with a president, I can work with a prisoner, I can work with a child. This process, though, all came from me, some kid who, frankly, didn't have a whole lot of confidence 30 years ago, not even close. And I didn't have any special gift or any special talent, but I did have that hunger. That hunger to say life has got to be more than what I'm living. That hunger to say I'm not willing to settle. That hunger that made me seek out answers. And I grew up in a pretty tough environment, so I didn't have any great role models around me. But what I began to do is I began to just read biographies, people's lives and what they've been through, and began to notice there was a pattern, that there were seasons of life and that certain people took advantage of the season and other people let the season take advantage of them. And I began to, read personal development books and psychology. I'm talking about I started doing this when I was 16 years old. It's a little bit before that, but that's when I got into it heavy. And I became Mr. Solution in school because you got a problem, man. I knew the answers because I was looking for them. And I started with me. I wanted to transform myself. And how'd I do it? Kind of like the structure of this program, frankly. I found that, if I was really going to make progress, if I was really going to break through, that I really had to take control of one of the most fundamental powers that every human being has, focus. You look at anything you're good at in your life. I mean, if you're listening to me right now and there's some areas of your life you want to change, there got to be some areas you're pretty thrilled with too. And if you're honest, if you're fair with yourself, I mean, everybody's got an area they're doing well in at some point in their life. I mean, if you're not doing great in your career, you're probably doing really great in your body. If your career's doing great, then often you don't have enough time for your kids. If you're doing a great job with your kids, often your intimate relationship isn't where you want to be. But there's something out there that at some stage of our life, we've done really well. And the reason we do well in it, number one, is we give it its focus. If you're great in your career, man, that's your focus. If you're great with your children, it's got your focus. Remember, wherever focus goes, energy flows. So if there's a first pillar of success in anything, or at least the pillar of progress, for sustainable progress, for a sustainable result, we've got to be able to put focus into an area. Now, some people say, well, yeah, but I've been focusing. I've been focusing on the fact that I need to lose weight, and I'm not happy with that. Well, it's not as simple as focus. I began to realize I need to focus on what I want. And I got to make it really compelling. I got to be focused. I got to be clear, and it's got to be compelling. I got to take control of this natural human spiritual talent that every one of us has. So I began to do that. And I began to do it with books and eventually with audio tapes. I mean, I started out, I used to go to a place called Night Education, KNIGHT. I remember the symbol of this night going. I was this young kid down in Los Angeles. I had no money or anything, and I used to go and listen. I used to go and look on the shelves of all these tape programs in this little company where they had all these, quote, solutions. And so, I would scrape my money together and I'd leverage the heck out of it and I'd buy these programs. I'd be trying to program my mind, program my focus by constantly listening to something different than the environment I was living in that was telling me everything I couldn't do and what wasn't possible and how terrible the economy was. And I was just sick of it. I finally decided I had to take control. And I started listening and I started reading and I started feeding my mind. And that alone started to make a change. Because, whatever you focus on, you tend to manifest. I don't mean this just metaphysically. Has there ever been anything in your life you can remember that you finally just decided, I want that? Maybe you got inspired by somebody, Or maybe you got so angry, you got so tired of feeling a certain way, you finally said, that's it, it's changing now. And then you got focused on it. Maybe that focus became something you became obsessed about. You know what I mean? Like you really kept thinking about it and dreaming about it. And I don't know about you, but most people I know have had something like this where they didn't even create a plan. It's just they were so focused on it, became such a desire, such an obsession that their mind shifted, their emotion shifted, their action shifted. Things started to happen. And before they knew it, man, they were living this dream. They were living this desire. They were living this vision. Has it happened to you at some stage in your life? I bet it has. Now, if I'm looking at a pillar of progress, that's the first one that changed me way back then. But, it's great to have focus, but if you want to accelerate it, you need the second pillar of progress. And that is you got to get the best tools, the best insights, the best coach, the best mentor. It's finding the best strategies. For 30 years, I've been obsessed looking for those strategies. Because, I wanted to lose weight. That was the first thing I wanted to do. I was 38 pounds heavier than I am now. I'm talking about now, almost 2.5 decades later. I weigh still the weight that I did when I made the change, when I lost that 38 pounds. Now, how did I do it? I got focused and clear. What did I want? Why did I want it? And I got it so it was so compelling. I wasn't just trying to lose 38 pounds. I got focused on, man, I want the energy to burn. I want the stuff that when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to be excited about life. I want to look good. I want to feel strong. I want all this gift of life available in me. That was different than, man, I got to lose weight. That was a big difference when you're focused, clear, and it's compelling. But then I began to realize, okay, I was focused and clear, and then I go on one of these diets. And oh my God, I'm sure you've had the frustration. If you ever tried to lose weight, you go pick up a book and the guy tells you this is the ultimate answer. And then you read another book and they say, if you do that, you'll die. Do my approach. And eventually you got to start digging in and find something that makes common sense to you. But what I began to do is say, let me find some people that have gotten a lasting result. So the ultimate edge is how do you get the advantage long term? How do you find that mental, psychological, emotional, physical, financial edge that lets you do well all the time, in good markets and in bad financially, when things are going great in your life and when it's not doing so great, when relationships are on a roll and when, man, you can't figure out what the heck to do. What's the matter with me? What's the matter with them? Why isn't this working? That's the edge. To have that edge, you need more than focus. You need strategy. You need insight. You need tools. You need the best that's worked, and you need something that's proven. So for these 3 decades, that's what I've constantly absorbed. I seek out people, I want to find out how to shift. So I decided I didn't want to just lose weight. I wanted to have energy. So at one point I finally said, who is the most energetic athlete on earth who's an amateur? Because I'm an amateur. I'm not looking for somebody who has the full-time ability to go work on their body. Of course they're going to be in great shape. Who's somebody like me that I could learn from? And I found out about a man named Stu Middleman, a guy that ran 1,000 miles in 11 days. And he wasn't even a runner at one stage in his life. Think about it. Well, he's a freak of nature. I'm not. What am I going to learn from him? Well, what I wanted to learn was energy, endurance. I thought it's great to look good. Abs are a nice thing, but what I really want is something that's going to last. I want the strength and the power to run like the wind. I want to be able to go. I want to be able to use that energy as passion in my life. And so I thought, he's a guy I want to learn from. And so I started finding out what he did. And this guy not only broke a record of 1,000 miles in 11 days, that's 85 miles roughly a day, 3 marathons plus a day for 11 consecutive days. And at the end of that process, he was stronger than when he started. Wouldn't it make you crazy to wonder how the heck a guy could do that? Most people say, well, he was lucky. No, he was unbelievably focused. It was compelling to him. He went down to Central America where he found some Indians, an Indian tribe, where most of the tribe will run 76 miles once a year as a celebration. He wanted to find out what made these people so weird. What makes people want to do this, and how could they do it physically? And he got the answer. He got their strategies. That's how he ran 1,000 miles in 11 days. I'll tell you about something even more impressive. I've known him now for several decades. And Stu, at one stage in my life, I went back to him and I said, I'm losing a little bit of the edge here. I know it's not age. What do I do? And he said, Tony, I went through the same phase. Let me tell you what. And he taught me his new strategies. He said, I'm using these strategies now. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to break my old record as a celebration of my 50th birthday coming up. I said, you're going to break the record of running 1,000 miles in 11 days that you did when you're like 30? He said, no, I'm going to run 3,000 miles. He said, I'm going to break the world record by a month. I'm going to run 52 miles a day for literally 2 months. I'm going to run from San Diego to New York City. Now, why am I telling you this strategy? Because darn, how many people in this world settle for trying to survive through the day? And it's just because they don't know. They're not focused and clear. There's nothing compelling to transform their life. They're so darn busy. We live in a world where we're constantly interrupted. You can't even have a conversation with somebody without their Crackberry or their iPhone going and they're checking down to see what the answer is, and you're not even there. We're always reacting to our worlds today. There's so much stimulation and demand that we don't take the time for ourselves. That's what I'm inviting you to do in this first kind of introductory session of you and I working together. I'm saying let's find some net time. Don't have to give up your time, no extra time, and let's get focused and clear, and let's focus on the best. What does a Stu Middleman do? You don't have to do everything he does, but wouldn't you like to know some of that for some of your energy? We're going to teach it to you here. So that's where I started. I started saying, I want to lose weight, but I need to find a strategy that works. But then I realized there's finally a third pillar of progress, a third pillar of sustainable success. Sometimes you can just get so focused on something and you're so obsessed by it and you're so excited about it. You want it so bad. It's clear, it's focused. It's not, I want to make more money. It's, I'm going to produce this result in my business. I'm going to turn my career in this way. I'm going to help my son or daughter do this. I'm going to create a relationship that isn't just together, but it's passionate and loving, where you're focused about what you want, you're clear, and it's compelling. You know exactly what you're after. Sometimes that is enough. But sometimes people, they're focused, they're clear, it's compelling. That first pillar's there, and they've got the best strategies. They got all the tools to make it happen, but they're not following through. Have you ever been there? Do you know somebody who's been there? Are you there now in some stage of your life, some area of your life? When that happens, you begin to realize what the third pillar is that we're going to deal with in this program. And that third pillar is inner conflicts. You've got to get aligned and directed so all of you is moving forward. See, here's the typical example. You're focused, you're clear, you got this new goal, this new dream, you're going to make it all happen, and you got some great tools, and then somebody comes by and says, yeah, but what if? Or your own mind does what if. You got this driving force inside of you. This one part of you has deep, deep desire, and you got this other part of you that's totally afraid of failing. Two conflicting desires. I want to succeed and I don't want to fail. Well, they don't go together. You want to be successful or you want to earn a lot of money and never be judged. Good luck. That's not how it works. People get jealous when someone succeeds at any level, financial, emotional, relationship. It's part of life. I want to have the most passionate, beautiful, loving relationship on earth, and I never want to be disappointed or frustrated or feel like I have no time or I'm losing freedom. These are all things that occur. As long as you're trying to achieve one thing and you got an inner conflict that says, I want to do something else simultaneously, as long as you want the benefit without any consequence, you find yourself in a position where you take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. Have you ever been there? Have you ever been like really near the edge of what you really want to achieve and you get right near that edge and then all of a sudden inside some part of you like freezes or pulls back? Or even worse, you sabotage your own success? See, when this happens, it's not because your brain is out to get you. Your brain has unbelievable power when it's aligned. When what you value, what you want is aligned. That doesn't mean you can't have fears. It doesn't mean you can't have doubts. But there's some tools that you can use that can get you integrated, get you aligned. And when you're aligned, you take action. And when you take action, you learn from those actions and keep changing your approach. You begin to succeed and achieve. And when you really achieve, you start to have the experience where you begin to celebrate and you have the capacity now to give something to someone else. As corny as it sounds, a chance to pay it forward. So how do I kind of give you the background of this? How do we start this process? Well, let me tell you that there's certain patterns that human beings get caught up in that cause them to succeed, and certain patterns that make people fail. No matter how smart they are, no matter how much they know, it still sabotages them. There are patterns that make people sad, make them feel overwhelmed, make them feel stressed out when they're living in abundance. But are there patterns that do the opposite, regardless of the environment, that cause people to be able to thrive, not just survive, that cause people to be in a position where they're grateful, where they feel appreciation, where they feel strong in the midst of all their fear? There's a courage that shows up. Are there patterns that make people who've never before stepped up just do it? You bet there are. And I spent 30 years of my life looking for those. And I didn't just get them from books or even get them by facing things myself. My whole thought has been real simple. Success leaves clues, baby. Why reinvent the wheel, right? We talked about this. Go learn from somebody. If somebody figured out how to do something, it took them 20 years. Don't waste 20 years. Figure out what they got. You can adapt it and make it your own. You can shift it to your style, but the essence of that learning is there. And I've had a ticket to history just like you. Anybody who's been alive the last 2.5 decades has had a ticket to history. Look around us. The fall of the wall, the fall of communism. We went from a place where there were all these countries that in a millisecond could push a button and wipe out the entire planet. Now, granted, we got a new problem. We got terrorism. Somebody can drop something anywhere, but it's not the same problem. It's a different one, a different challenge, different quality. Doesn't mean it makes it any more comfortable, but it's a different world. We've all been through both the challenges, the economies, the things that happen in real estate, the things that happen, the crunches, the growths, the expansions, the drops, the prices of oil, everything that's been challenging. But we've also been the rise of the internet, the shift in the connection of the community around the world, human beings who care for people who live on another continent, and they don't just say they care, they're willing to do something. We're living in the most amazing time to be alive, and many people are not taking advantage of the environment they're in. Think about it. Ultimately, if you want to know what shapes it all, think about this. When people fail to achieve what they want, what's their reason? What do people tell you? Why did you fail to achieve your goal? I remember a few years ago, I got invited to speak at a group called TED, T-E-D. It means Technology, Entertainment, and Design. Great organization, and you can even go online and watch many of the films. They attract people from all the world to do an 18-minute talk, something you might guess I've never done in my lifetime. But they bring you in and have people talk on various subjects, and they bring in the best of the best in anthropology and design and psychology and physiology and science, and it's just an amazing place. And so, and the people that attend are about 1,000 people. And the 1,000 people attend are like the best of the best. They're, the guys that started Google, the people who started Yahoo, the individuals who are some of the greatest futurists alive today, some of the greatest technologists, some of the greatest intellectuals, leaders and movers and shakers from the entertainment business, from politics. So I'm thinking, I got 18 minutes. How do I get these guys going? So my first question was, everyone loves to talk about their successes. But who here has failed? And I raised my hand, and nobody raised their hand. I said, well, thanks for your full participation. I said, come on, be honest. Who here has ever failed? I said, if you don't raise your hand, you lie about other things too. And so sure enough, everybody starts raising their hand. And I said, so here's my question. When you failed, why did you fail? Why did you fail? And so it was kind of quiet. I said, just shout it out. And somebody said, well, we didn't have the right technology. And somebody else shouted out, well, we didn't have enough time. Somebody else said, we didn't have the capital resources, also known as money. Somebody else said, well, we didn't have the right people. I said, that's what most managers tell me. I didn't have the right people. Most people say, we didn't have the right manager. Everybody kind of had that nervous laugh. And more things kept flashing out faster and faster. And then all of a sudden I heard a voice in the darkness that said, I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. And there was this pause, and all of a sudden people started laughing and then clapping. And I looked down in the front row in the darkness, and there was Vice President Al Gore. And he laughed, everybody kind of giggled, and I said, wow, that's one way of explaining why you failed to achieve your goal to be president. But I said, let's look a little deeper. Everyone here has given reasons, and I've used some of these too, so I'm not pointing any fingers here. But what are these reasons? I didn't have the time. I didn't have the technology. We didn't have the right contacts. We didn't know the right people, in other words. We didn't have the tools. We had the wrong leaders. Everybody's got their list, but what do all these things have in common? I didn't have enough Supreme Court justices. What do all these things have in common? And all of a sudden, there's a pause, and somebody said it. They're all resources. I said, that's right. The biggest illusion we have in life of why we failed to achieve something is we start to believe that we're missing the resources. And what I can tell you, having lived 3 decades working with the most successful human beings on the face of the earth, I'm talking about titans of business, the most powerful political leaders. I'm talking about everybody from a Nelson Mandela, a Mother Teresa, a Princess Diana, a Gorbachev. I'm talking about President Clinton, people from every walk of life, going to sports, the Agassiz, the Gretzkys, these days the Chuck Liddells and Ultimate Fighting. I've been through all of them, worked with them all directly. I've got to get in their mind. I've got to ask Gorbachev, what ended the Cold War? I've got to hear from people's point of view, what has shaped the destiny of this country and of this world? And you know what I find out as I dig under it all in my own experience as well? Resources are never the real problem. The real problem is a lack of resourcefulness. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is, you can get the resources if you're resourceful enough. And what makes us resourceful? You got it. Human emotion. We're either unresourceful or resourceful based on the habit of emotions that we use most often. Do you get yourself in the habit where you get frustrated, tired, overwhelmed, angry real easily, or bored? Or is your habit more determination, courage, playfulness, interesting, curious, courageous? Where do you spend more time? See, think about it. If you don't have the money, but you are creative enough, can you find a way to get the money? The answer is yes. Anyone who's ever succeeded has done it. If you don't know how to get through it, the obstacle seems absolutely impenetrable. You can't change it, but you're determined enough. Will you find the way? If you have enough determination, enough flexibility, enough creativity, the answer is yes. If you don't know what to do and you need help and you care enough, there's enough caring, enough love, enough caring for other people, you bet you can find someone who'll help you. So I said, it's never the resources that's the real problem. It's the lack of resourcefulness. It's a lack of emotional strength or emotional fitness. You didn't use all you're capable of. And I said, so let's look here, Vice President Gore. I said, I watched you last night give a speech on global warming. This was prior to the movie An Inconvenient Truth coming out, by the way. I said, I saw a passion in you last night that moved me. I remember years ago, you and W. Bush having a debate. And I can remember vividly wanting to vote for you, but I couldn't because there was just no emotion, no passion, and nothing like this. If you would have had half the passion you had last night, you would have had my vote, and I guarantee you in our society, you never would have needed any Supreme Court justices to be able to make a vote for you to be president of the United States. And the whole crowd went crazy. They started making noise and clapping like crazy. And this is a democratic environment. And he came up and he gave me a high five. And I said, of course, that's just me making my judgments telling you how you should run for president, something I'd never had the ability to do. I said, my point is deeper, though. My point is it's our resourcefulness. And if we can get that, we don't have to make ourselves wrong. We can find the resources to get the answer to go where we want to go. I mean, that's what makes it happen. That's what J.K. Rowling did to get herself where she is. I mean, think about this woman. Here's a woman that was shy, so shy that when she came up with the idea to even consider writing this book, right, this concept of Harry Potter, she was on a train and she was too shy to ask for a pen, so she forgot parts of it. And then hopefully, finally it came to her again. This is a woman who, was a school teacher who left and went to Portugal to become an English teacher there and met a man and fell in love and had her first child, Jessica. But you know what? He was the wrong guy. Good people sometimes aren't the right people as a mix, and they fought so bad that, as I understand it, she was thrown out of the house. Came back to England in 1994 with her tail between her legs, broke, no job. And she said, I'm going to write stories. Some of the stories she told her daughter that her daughter loved, she tested them out there and she thought, I'm going to write these. But everybody said, are you crazy? Nobody makes any money writing children's books. You better get a day job. You better go become a school teacher. Go become an English teacher here. And so, something inside of her just wouldn't give up. Something inside of her. She's on welfare. At one point, it looked like she was going to have to sleep in her car with her child. But she wouldn't give up. Something in her mindset, something in her was resourceful enough to find some creativity. That's all she had. Her only resource was passion, imagination, creativity. But she converted that into a story. And by the way, when she went out and took that first book out to everybody, did people just jump all over and go, oh my God, this is the greatest children's book of all time? The company in the UK that actually bought the rights to her book gave her £1,500, which these days might be worth about $3,000. And they only published 1,000. 1,500, by the way, went to the libraries. Nobody thought it was going to go. And then it caught fire. In fact, today, if you had one of those original 1,000, that first printing, they're worth $50,000 each. In her last printing of her last book, the 7th book, it sold 11 million copies in 24 hours. I mean, it never happened in human history. She has sold more than 400 million Harry Potter books. 400 million. And the woman who was on welfare, who had no resources, is now a billionaire. Come on. Don't sell yourself short ever again. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, you can't make any money writing children's stories. Until you come up with your way of finding your gift. And I'm not saying you have to do something that makes $1 billion, but you got to do something that moves you. I mean, how does a guy like Stephen Hawking shape our understanding of the universe when at 21 years old, at time most people have the most optimism for the life, he's taken out literally at the knees. He's told in his 3rd year of college, you have ALS. You're losing all muscle function. You will become a quadriplegic. You will probably die within the year. Now, don't get me wrong. He's not superhuman any more than you or I are. I mean, he was devastated. He was destroyed. That's part of what life does to just remind us what we're capable of. And the old phrase, it's so corny, but it's true. If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. If you can find a meaning, a reason to live, something incredible can come from this. That never would have happened if he was just given a bunch of gifts. And the ultimate gift he got when he felt like he had no reason to live, he was depressed out of his mind, felt dead inside even before he'd physically died, completely depressed. God stepped in and gave him the greatest gift you can hope for. The right woman in his life, a woman who loved him and fell in love with him after he had the disease. A woman who saw his soul, and that gave him a reason to live. If you ever hear emotion in me when I talk about relationship, it's because I've never been at that point, but I can tell you what, I have the same depth of appreciation and knowing of what it means to have someone who you love and who worships you. My point is simple. She gave him a compelling future, a reason to live. He decided that whatever time I've got here, I'm going to live it loving completely, and he wanted to leave a legacy that she and everyone would be proud of. He wanted to give something back. If you want to know how to become emotionally fit, get out of yourself. Hawking decided he wanted to make sure that he left a legacy that could touch all human beings. And so he started digging in. His father always told him, "You don't be a mathematician. It's a waste of time. Study chemistry." And he did. And ironically became one of the greatest mathematicians of all time. And all of a sudden he starts having these insights. He starts utilizing these breakthroughs. He starts showing us how the universe could have been created. And sure enough, in 1985, after all he's been through, how could life do this? How could a God do this? He has pneumonia. And he doesn't die because they give him a tracheotomy. And he loses his voice. But you know what? If you're emotionally fit, if you're psychologically strong enough, if you realize it's not resources, it's resourcefulness, this man got so resourceful. What'd he do? He found a way to get a machine to be his voice. And ironically, Stephen Hawking is now the voice of the cosmos. See, none of us have faced, I shouldn't say none of us, it's unlikely if you're hearing my voice that you faced challenges anything close to what Stephen Hawking has faced. And yet look at what's available to us. I'm not just telling these stories to inspire you. And by the way, I hope they do. What's life like without inspiration? What's an uninspired life like? Dead. Inspired, by the way, means in spirit. When you're in your own spirit, when you're connected to spirit, when you're connected to your deepest self and whatever you believe has made you in this world, boy, there's amazing things you can do. So the ultimate edge is the capacity to appreciate, the ability to find joy, the ability to find fulfillment. I mean, if you want to know the 2 master lessons of life, I'll give them to you in the most simple way I know how. No matter who I've met and where I've gone in life, people that master life have mastered these 2 things. Most have only mastered one at best. The first master lesson of life is the science of achievement. And if you think I'm talking too much about really being fulfilled, I spent the first whole segment of my life figuring out how do I get from where I am to where I want to be? You know, how do I really finally step up and achieve what I'm after? How do I transform my body? How do I really find the relationship and then make that relationship not just okay, but passionate and alive and fulfilling? You know, what do I do to really be the best father possible? How do I make money? Enough money you don't have to worry about it anymore, you know, until the next challenge in the economy or thing that brings it up. You know, most people just have not been able to achieve what they want. And I want you to know achievement is a science. There are very specific things that if you do them, your body will transform in terms of its energy or its health or its fitness. And everyone's unique. But trust me, as unique as we are, there are certain laws of the body that if you ignore those laws, you're going to have pain. You're going to have dis-ease, as they call it, dis-ease in your body. If there are certain laws, if you follow them, you're going to have a boost of energy, an expansion of your energy. You're going to have vitality. You're going to have strength. There are certain laws of life, laws of money. No matter what your age, your color, your background, your religious background, beliefs, it doesn't matter. If you do certain things, if you sow a certain way, you will reap. And it doesn't matter. You can do this in good times and bad times of the economy and still do well. You know, everybody knows that, you know, no matter how tough it may be, if you look at history, the people that became most wealthy, who started with nothing, did it during the Depression. The Carnegies, the Rockefellers, look at them all. The people that literally found a way. So there's a science to making money. And we're going to walk through that science. That's a big part of what Get the Edge is and a part of what personal power is. But the second master lesson of life is equally important, and I frankly think even more important. That doesn't mean you don't master the first one, but you got to master the second one for a great life. And the second master lesson is the art of fulfillment. And notice I didn't say the science of fulfillment, the art of fulfillment. See, fulfillment is an art. The capacity to feel alive, to feel happy, to feel a sense of meaning in your life. That's an art. And the reason it's an art is, science is the same for everybody, but art is different for everyone. If you took two people and they look at a painting, one might go, ugh, that's ugly. And somebody goes, what are you talking about? That's a masterpiece. A masterpiece? I got it done that by throwing paint on the wall. The beauty of human beings is diversity. You want to see God's beauty. You want to see what God loves. Go to the forest. Everything isn't the same. It's all different. When we can begin to appreciate those differences, we have more fulfillment in our life. But my point is, what will fulfill you may be different than the person next to you. And that's beautiful, but you got to know what fulfills you. Now, while there's no science to fulfillment, there are some patterns of power. And one of those I can tell you up front is this. If you're going to be fulfilled, two things you got to do. Let's see if this sounds familiar. Grow, right? If you don't grow, you don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel alive. Progress equals happiness. But if you also want real fulfillment, you need meaning. And that means you need to give. You need to contribute beyond yourself. You need to be able to find that part of yourself, find something you're passionate about giving, your heart, your history, your experience, your insight, your caring, your time, your energy, your money, your focus. We all have something to give, a skill, a gift. Everyone has it. But if we don't do it, if we just try to achieve what we want, you can get the experience of pleasure. But pleasure and fulfillment are a geometric difference. Pleasure lasts for a moment or two. It's like eating cake. It's like getting the star in your chart. It's the achievement. It's someone giving you a compliment. It's getting the Academy Award, whatever it is, whatever your metaphor is. But it doesn't last. Pretty soon it's a statue on the wall, right? Fulfillment comes because you feel like your life matters. And it matters because you've grown, and because you've grown, you have something to give. This ultimate edge is really going to go through both the strategies to get the results you want, the science of achievement, but it's also going to give you the insights, the philosophy, the core approach that they're going to give you the sense of fulfillment. Because I tell people all the time, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. I mean, you don't want to be somebody who's so famous you've seen achieve everything, make everybody else happy, and then they overdose on drugs and kill themselves. They made everybody happy but themselves. And by the way, I don't know too many people that are fulfilled who haven't achieved something. We have to achieve and we have to contribute. And I don't think they have to be separated. I'm not suggesting that you can't do one or the other more at some stage of your life. I sure have. But what I found at this stage is the integration is the ultimate gift. The integration of achievement and fulfillment, that's the ultimate edge. And what creates it all, the common denominator, that base of it all, is emotional fitness, psychological strength, which, by the way, if you're not sure you have it, you do. Everyone has emotional muscles. You may not be using them enough that you're not really fit, but they're there. And so what we're going to do in these programs is each day build some of that muscle, refine it, take on a new tool, another skill, get it a bit stronger so that it helps you to achieve and so it helps you enjoy. So let me get to the pragmatic, practical base of this first session. What is the force that ultimately unleashes your emotional fitness? Obviously, it's action. Nothing changes without new action. But the force that's even deeper than action, whether you do something or don't, whether you pull back or move forward, what's going to determine that? What's going to control that? What controls all action? Well, what happens before you take action is you have to make a decision. And every action is fathered or mothered by a decision. I mean, think about it. If you really want to know why your life has turned out the way it has, look at the decisions you've made over the last 5, 10, 15 years. I'm not suggesting that we don't face challenges, but here's what I've seen in my life, and I'm sure you've seen it too if you're honest with yourself. It's not the conditions that shape your destiny, it's your decisions. In fact, I tell people, it's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. This core understanding is the basis of everything I'm here to share with you. Everything we're going to do is about making a new choice. See, if you don't like how it is, good. If you're excited, good. If you're in between, I feel sorry for you. See, I'm hoping you're either inspired or scared, because either one of those will move you. That lukewarm, numb kind of middle area is the place you want to avoid. Those are the people that are dead inside. I don't usually get to see many of those people. I see people at the top. I see people starting a new chapter or facing a big challenge, because that's when we're looking for answers. And that's when we feel truly most alive. That's the time you got to make a new choice. That's when you got to decide. So look at your life. I know there have been tough times. I know that there's been injustices. I don't know anybody who hasn't had them. I could tell you my stories and bore you. You don't need to hear my stories of injustice. You got your own. And everybody's had moments of advantage, at least. We may not have identified them, but they were there. The question is, what did you do with it? See, sometimes it's the littlest decision that shaped our life. Think about this. Maybe you made a choice about where to go to school. It seemed like a small choice, a difficult choice, but a small choice, but it led to the friends that are still in your life, or it led to, taking on a certain kind of career, and that career has led you into a way of thinking, a way of being. If you choose to be a lawyer, you're going to have a very different life than if you're going to be a therapist. You're going to have a very different life than if you're going to be a broadcaster, very different life than if you're going to work in a coal mine, very different life than if you're going to be an entrepreneur, very different life than if you're going to be a politician. Because there are different demands, and we adapt to our environment. And after a while, whatever we get reinforced for doing, we do a lot more of. And pretty soon, that little choice about what to do for a living has shaped what you believe about the world. Little decisions can shape our life. You went to work someplace and you met the man or woman who is now your husband or wife. That decision created a family. The decisions you make about what to eat from your dinner plate each night are shaping your body and your destiny. See, decisions equal destiny. And what I want you to get is, you don't have to wait to be emotionally fit. You got to decide to face what's in front of you. You got to decide to raise the standard of what you expect for yourself. You got to decide that no matter how magnificent your life is, it's time to grow, baby. Time to go to the next level. That's what's going to make me alive. Make a decision right now that says you're going to be one of the few who do, and you and I are going to complete this process together. Each day, even if you miss a day, you get right back on it. Let's do this process so that each day we're making new decisions, creating new actions. Are you up for that? I hope so. If you're listening to me right now, my bet is you probably are. But you got to structure it, schedule it, lock it in. That's a decision too, what you do with your schedule. People say, I have no time. Bull. Got all the time there is. The question is, what's most important? And are you taking time for yourself? Are you taking time to consciously decide things? Are you taking time to listen to your own inner heart, to the whispers of destiny? I'm not trying to sound melodramatic, but if you don't give time to yourself just to be, you miss out on life, and you find yourself unconsciously choosing just to roll with it, just to keep going. And all of a sudden, your life is over. You didn't design your life. You just reacted. I got your attention? I know you know these things in your heart already. I'm just bringing them to the forefront right now. Now, when I say decisions shape destiny, if you had to think of one or two decisions you made that have changed your life for the better, what might those be? What's a decision you made in, let's say, in a relationship or in your career, or maybe a decision about what to believe or what not to believe, about God, about life, about yourself, about possibility, about success or failure. You see, our decisions about what to believe control how we feel, and they control our actions. So ultimately, what's been one of the most powerful decisions of your life that you're proud of? We best build on success. See, if you want to change your life today, and by the way, we're going to do this the first day of personal power, I'm going to get you to make two decisions on that day. When I say I'm going to get you, I want to put you in an environment where you're going to want to, and you're going to follow through, and you're going to make some decisions that start to shift things right away. But that won't be the only day we'll do that. But think about it. If you don't like your body, change it. If you don't like your relationship, change you first. If that doesn't work and you aren't meant for each other, then change the relationship. You don't have to wait. There's a moment when our life changes, and often people will tell me, it took me 10 years to make this change. I go, took you a moment. It took you 10 years to get to the moment, but the moment was when you chose something, when you decided and you acted. I don't mean a decision when you said, I've decided. I mean when you made the decision and you immediately took massive action towards its achievement. When we act on something, it's a real decision. So you can change anything, but you got to get yourself in the state to do it. And by the way, there are 3 decisions you're making every moment of your life, either consciously or unconsciously. You're making those 3 decisions right now. And you may not be aware of it consciously what those decisions are, but it's happening. And you test it out, see if it's true. I'll give you the 3 right now. Figuring these out began to allow me to take control of some of my unconscious thinking and shift my life. The first decision you make every moment of your life is, what are you going to focus on? Every moment of your life, you got to decide what to focus on. Now, again, if you don't choose consciously, your brain just goes into its habits. And what do you tend to focus on? Things you value or the things you fear? Most people focus on what they're afraid of And so their life, whatever you focus on, you feel. Wherever focus goes, energy flows. So if you keep focusing on what you fear, you bring it to life. As you think about it, it becomes alive inside of you. Have you ever had something you were totally worried about and you kept thinking about it, focusing on it, and in your gut, it was like it was happening? You know, there's an old phrase, I never forgot it because I used to be such a worrier, not a warrior, a worrier. I'd make myself sick. And the way I did it was I think of all the worst things I was afraid were going to happen. I think about them in detail. And one day I read this little phrase. It said, a coward dies 1,000,000 times. A courageous man dies only once. And I thought, you know what? I'm feeling in my gut as if all this stuff had happened day after day. Maybe I ought to just wait. And if it really happens, then I'll take the gut hit. See, people have patterns of focus, and the first decision about what to focus on is shaping your life. For example, here's a pattern. If you've decided, consciously or unconsciously, years ago to get in the habit where you focus on what you can't control, the economy. You can shape your own finances, but you can't control the economy. You can take advantage of an uptime or a downtime, but you can't control it. If you focus on, politicians, you can influence how long they're in office, but you can't control them. If you focus on controlling the weather, if you focus on anything you can't control, and that's your pattern, I know the emotions you experience. You're not emotionally fit. You live with fear or worry or stress. But right now, truthfully, there's so much that you authentically can control. The most important things, your thoughts, your mind, your emotions, your decisions, your actions. Think about it. There's two worlds we got to master. The most important world to master is the internal world. In fact, anything you want to master in the external world, anything you want to achieve, make happen, change, starts by change in the internal world, doesn't it? It's like we talked about earlier. I mean, how to lose weight, not that difficult. Million ways to do it, million strategies, people that could coach you, people that could train you, places to do it everywhere. Put on your shoes and move, right? Books, tapes, elements, everywhere it's there. It's not hard. Getting yourself to do it, that's the inner world. And that requires taking control of focus, number one. Same thing's true with money. Same thing's true with anything else. If you master the inner world, you master your life. And to master the inner world, to have emotional fitness, you got to take control consciously of what you focus on. Some people have the pattern of focusing on the past. So guess what? If you're trying to drive into the future and you're using a rearview mirror, you're always looking in the past, you're going to crash. It's not going to happen. Some people are always focused only on the future and they're missing the present that they could enjoy. Some people only focus on the present and they miss the future and they don't anticipate what's coming. It's the ability to move around, not get locked into one approach. Am I making some sense? We're going to go into this concept of focus in much more depth, just by itself in one day. So take heart if it sounds like I'm covering a lot. Second decision you make. The minute you focus on something, where does your mind go immediately? It has to come up with, what does this mean? See, the human nervous system has to know, is this going to mean pain or pleasure? When this happened, does it mean the end, or does this mean that we're beginning? Think about it for a moment. If you think this is the end of a relationship, are you going to feel the same way? Are you going to act the same way if you think it's the beginning? No. People at the end say things that they don't say in the beginning. They do things differently than they do in the beginning. Whatever meaning you give to an experience, it becomes. It becomes it. Because you accept it. You make it a belief within you. And most of us are unconscious about what things mean. If there's this big problem, some people's meaning for that is, God is punishing me for something I did long ago. As long as you believe that, it'll be true in your body and your experience, even if it's not true in life. I mean, haven't you given something a meaning? You thought somebody was so upset with you, or they took advantage of you and you were upset with them or hurt by them, and then one day you found out they weren't hurting you. It wasn't true. You had misinformation. And you felt like an idiot? Meaning is so powerful. And if you don't consciously choose, your old patterns show up. Come up with an empowering meaning, you change everything. Come up with a disempowering meaning, it's over. So is this God punishing you? Or is God challenging you? Or it's not God at all. You're challenging yourself. You created the problem. Or is this a gift? A one-word change in the meaning completely changes how you feel and what you'll do. And if you want to know what life is, if you want to know what extraordinary life is, I can tell you what it comes down to: the emotions you feel. See, if you got every goal you've ever achieved, you have a perfect family, you've, gotten every award, achievement you've made, all the money you could dream of, billions of dollars, and everything in your life is perfect. But each day you have the habit of focusing on what you can't control, or focusing on some aspect of life that's not really a great thing for you right now. and you give the meaning of life as something that you should feel guilty for being successful, or you should feel stressed because it's not going to last, if the predominant emotions of your life are guilt or stress or anger, then your children don't matter. $1 billion doesn't matter. If you've got $1 billion and you live with fear and stress, your life is fear and stress. I've dealt with people like this, trust me. I'm not giving you some made-up example. People that seem to have everything and they're miserable. Everything, mentally, emotionally, relationships, finances. They have the opportunity to be spiritually connected. My God, if there's any evidence that you've been blessed, it's all around you. But they're missing the boat because they gave it a lousy meaning. Finally, what's the third decision? Once you focus on something and give it a meaning, it produces an emotion. Those emotions filter what you do. Think about it. The third decision is, what am I going to do? Well, if you're angry as hell, are you going to do something different than if you're feeling grateful? If you're fearful and worried and stressed, are you going to do something different than if you feel determined or curious or playful? So the meaning powerfully affects what you're going to do. And I'll tell you the other thing affects what you decide to do, your role models. That's why you need more examples of not only people that have gone to the next level. I mean, I hear people all the time say, well, I don't know any couples that really truly are in love. Or you're the only couple, if they're friends, you're the only couple we know that, I really know you guys passionately love each other. But, there aren't any other examples. Well, since when do you base your life on everybody else? You need to find a role model, or if there isn't one, become that role model. But there are. Trust me, there's not that much that's unique in human beings. Whatever's been achieved, whatever's been accomplished, someone else has done that thing greater or more than you've ever dreamed of. All you got to do is look for it, and they can show you a pathway to power. They can show you a better strategy, a better tool. You may not have access to them directly, but you can read it, you can learn it, you can study it, especially these days. My point is, the three decisions that are controlling your life right now is, what are you focusing on? Because right now you might be focusing on, does this guy ever take a breath? Or you may be focusing on, man, this makes sense. Or I'm excited. I can see now why this is going to work. I can see a step at a time how I'm going to move myself from where I am to the life I really want to live at the newest level now. I really see the fundamentals are here. This is real. You might give it that meaning, or you might give it, it's just a pump up. Whatever meaning you give is going to give you some emotion, and that emotion is going to decide whether you keep listening or whether you put me on pause if you have to use the restroom and get right back to me, right? It all comes down to these three decisions. They're shaping your life moment to moment. If you take control of them, everything changes. So breathe for a moment. I'll do the same. We want to take a little sip of water, and let me give you the final understanding that really shapes all of this. By the way, if you're thinking, my goodness, this session's still going on, there's another part of it, I understand. This is the longest session because it's the first immersion. I want to give you the overview of what it is we're doing here, about what's controlling your decision-making in your life. Tomorrow, unless you break this one into 2 sessions, which you can do, but otherwise, the next session, after we finish this Decisions and Destiny session together, which is continuing, is going to be on your hour of power. We're going to go into the conditioning tool. If you get yourself to do something consistently, it's a habit. It's conditioned. That's what the Hour of Power is about. Once those 2 sessions are done, this kind of launch package, if you will, of inner strength, then you're going to begin Personal Power. Personal Power is the most successful program of all time. And each little session, it's a brief session. Some are like 30, 35 minutes. So it's not anywhere near this length. And each one, you're going to get a single tool. You're going to apply it to your life that day. You're going to get results. Come back the next day to go to day 2 and so on and so on. And you're going to get tremendous momentum. So are you still with me? Good. Then let's continue here with the second part of session 1, Decisions and Destiny.
This session continues on the next CD.